Welcome to my YouTube channel Study Nongjai. Before I start this video, I want to tell you that I have already uploaded the Hindi version of this video. If you find any difficulty in understanding English, you can watch the Hindi version one. So before I start, I want to tell you that if you like my video, please do like and subscribe and share with your friends too. So before I start, I will start with a little bit of history. We all know that the First World War started in 1914 and ended in 1919. So after the First World War, the victorious power are those which countries won the First World War. Okay, it was including England, France, Italy, Japan, US. So I earlier mentioned that the victorious powers are those which won the First World War. It was called victorious powers because they won the First World War. The victorious powers were France, Germany, Italy, Japan, US, and Russia too. So Woodrow Wilson, the then president of the United States, encouraged to establish this organization. It was established on 10th January 1920 by victorious powers. Woodrow Wilson, this then president of the United States, introduced 14 points of charter before the world, and after the charter, the 14 point encouraged to establish these organizations. In League of Nations, there is an assembly. Assembly includes the all heads of the nations, or it is nation is called state in political languages. Okay, if you are not a student of political science, you may be in confusion that why I'm calling states instead of nations. So it is called nation is called state in political language, I mean in political science subjects. Okay, so I will use state term for the nation. Okay, so there was, after introducing or publishing the chart 14-point charters, the world leaders gathered and tried to make an organization which will prevent the future war. Generally, it was to mitigate the chances of war, because the human history never saw such a war before the First World War. It was the deadliest war of then. So it caused many lives and heavy economic losses. Due to that, the world leader gathered and took the decision of establishing an organization which will mitigate the chances of war in near future and for forever. So though it was a failed organization, so there is an assembly. In assembly, the head of states of all members sit together and introduce bills or any resolution. It was framed in such a way that every country would have the right to express their view and points, and it was something like that. Every decisions were to took by this organization was unanimously. If any country disagree with any resolution or any bill, it would not prevail and or as a pass as a bill. Okay, so it was like all the members had veto power over. So it was also known as the league parliament. The main objectives of this organization was to maintain world peace and to amend in issues and elections of non-permanent means the country which wants to be a member of this organization but not permanent. So the assembly decides whether a country would be a non-permanent member or not. Okay, so there was an also council. So there were four permanent members: Britain, France, Italy, and Japan. So here is an interesting fact that the then president of the Woodrow Wilson led the whole committee and gathered the world leaders to establish this organization, but the United States could not participate or could not be a member of this organization because their senate never allowed or passed the never agreed to join League of Nations. Okay, so Britain, France, Italy, and Japan were had the veto power. I also mentioned that the every issue or any resolution would be in anonymous agreement or anonymously taken. But but the fact is here that if even if the whole world unanimously agree on a certain topic or a particular issue or legislature, and any member of the four permanent member disagree, the resolution will immediately be dissolved because the four had the special veto power over it. Okay, the it was working for to settle international disputes between states, and it was planned to meet 5 times a year also. So international court of justice, the international court of justice was a part or an organ of league of nations. It was in composition of league of nations. Okay. The headquarter of the headquarter of the international court of justice was in the Hague. Okay, we call Hague instead of Hague because generally we don't put the before before a name, but here the Hague is called the Hague. So I forget to mention, I forget to write it here. So do put the before Hague. Okay, the Hague. The work of this organ was to give legal advices to assembly and council, and to, for example, Kulbhushan Yadav of India was caught in Pakistan, alleging that he was an intelligent secret agent. Okay, so even the disputes, India brought the disputes before the international court of justice, and the case is going on. So even for example, if the international court of justice ICJ give any judgment against India, it is no India is no India will be India won't be bound by any judgment of the ICJ. Okay, this is the leg feature of this organ, that it has no army and troops or any forceful any forceful sanctions that a country must obey. Even if India wants to disobey it, yeah, it will easily. Okay, because it has no troop or no any proper procedure to implement it concretely. Okay, so it was also a reason of the of failure of the League of Nations. So the another interesting or very fascinating feature of the organization was commissions, or it is also known as committee. Okay, the refugee committee did here. The refugee is those, the POW, I mean POW is the prisoners of wars. The, for example, the Indian army fought for India and the Pakistani army fought for Pakistan, and if Indian army caught by Pakistani army and they put in a jail for because the Indian army was their enemy. So like this, the refugee, the prisoners of war were to be released according to this commission to send them back to their home nations. Okay, it is slavery commissions. It is well known that the before the First World War there was human trafficking, where one human sold another human, and they use the inferior, not inferior, okay, the poor humans as a slave of their, they treat them like a dog. Or it is a very evil mark on human history that the human had slavery systems. Okay, the mandate is simply, I will tell you, the mandate is just a name. It has no legal work nor any real works. It was only on paper that a colonial power would rule any nation on behalf of League of Nations. But the colonial power always used to rule any nation according to their will and their wish. Okay. ILO, International Labour Organization, was an organ of League of Nations. It was for the working class people who would work, and it defined how much a person should get paid for works, and how much hour a person can or should work. Okay, so it was for to increase the wages of the poor people so that they may improve their lifestyles or the living standard. And the secretariat, this was the most important feature, I would say, because the administrative people or the members were the ones who register and and publish the treaties between any nations. Like India has concluded a treaty with Bangladesh, Pakistan, and with various nations. Like that treaty, mm, any treaty which were concluded between two nations were used to register in international League of Nations, and they published the treaties. And Council of Ambassadors was the vigilance of the treaties. They that whether they are working properly according to the treaties or not. So here I will end my video. I hope you understood, and you came to know what was League of Nations. And if you have any query or any questions or any confusion, you can comment. I will reply it later on. Okay, thank you.